Hello and welcome back to the Dev channel. So this week I thought I'd have a nice little chat with Harvey again about local LLMs. Harvey, I know this week you've been working with a client on some local LLM problems, but I thought maybe we should start off with why would you want to run an LLM locally?
Okay, so there's actually a whole host of reasons, but let's start with some of the biggest ones, right? So there's latency, right? So you can, with a well-spec'd machine, you can have the backwards and forwards with a local LLM fast, right? And much faster than say ChatGPT or a Gemini. It can be real quick response, and it can be good for say replacing Copilot to an extent. You can get incredibly quick responses. And then obviously the big one on the table is privacy. Everything that's done with a local LLM stays on your device. It doesn't go to any third party.
Okay. So obviously, privacy is a big thing about LLMs because there's been efficacy of the training data and that sort of thing, and I think we've covered this in the past as well. But if I'm gonna deploy this, what sort of hardware are we going to need?
I mean, this is the thought too, right? Is the consideration here is obviously between the cost and latency and security. You will battle with all of these, but you're going to need some specs. Now, there's been a bit of an evolution recently with smaller spec models, especially from Microsoft. We've got the Phi-3 model, which are smaller parameter models. I think some people even managed to get some of these down to 500 megabytes in size, so even half a gig of RAM can run some of these. Now they're highly specialized models, so they're not going to be anywhere near as good as ChatGPT, but they'll be very good and fine-trained for one task. So you could run it on a Raspberry Pi even, maybe even say for spam detection of emails or something like that. But yeah, once you start getting more complex or closer to say what you'd say even like ChatGPT, even 3.5 turbo sort of levels, right? You're going to start needing bigger graphics cards with more VRAM for more parameters. So maybe like the huge parameter versions of DeepSeek R1, you're going to need a cluster of GPUs. So the cost goes sky high, but you do gain sky high security.
So, like you mentioned complexities there. So, if I've deployed a local LLM, out of the box, what can it do?
In terms of what the LLM can do, it's very large on what model you choose. There's hundreds, thousands of different models, and they can all be trained, by yourself or pre-trained to do one specific task well. So take Phi-3 from Microsoft, for example. That's very good at classification, so it can take sentiment from paragraphs very well. Right, but it's a very small size, so that's very good at that. But if you want a more general purpose thinking model, you're probably going to install DeepSeek R1, so that's very good at that. Now the layer above that is what I would use to install it on my machine is Ollama, the tooling. That gives you your chat interface and a way to pull the local models, install them and manage them. But that also gives you the local API, which then you can use the OpenAI SDK to plug directly into it and then start using it in projects. I mean, that's what I've been doing recently.
Wow, okay. There's a lot of tools out there then that make it very accessible to actually develop and using existing sort of API frameworks that we know and love from ChatGPT and that sort of thing. We can just use them locally on our own models. That's really very powerful.
Yeah, so I mean, some of the power that you can get from these local models as well, obviously the security, but then, it's very good at contextual data. So you can provide it, say, a paragraph with loads of spelling and grammar and say, can you fix the spelling and grammar in this? And it's generally really good for bang for bucks. Tiny model can do this quickly and, very cheaply on a mediumly spec'd machine. Actually, pretty good on most Mac, Apple Silicon. What you can get out of it is fantastic, actually.
Obviously, there's potentially a cost benefit. There's the hidden cost of obviously having to run the hardware. There's the privacy benefits as well. But obviously I'm assuming, a lot more work that you kind of have to do to make it useful for specific tasks. So you've really got to pick what task you're needing to achieve and then pick the correct LLM to do that task and then train it on the sort of the data that you're obviously needing to do that task on.
That's it. It doesn't tend to be very good on zero shot like you would probably get on ChatGPT. I need you to generate this from knowledge. So what happened on this day in France in 1908. it really depends on the training data, and these small models really don't have that vast training data like humongous hosted models like OpenAI have, right? So they're really largely based on context that you feed in, so extract, sentiment, review analysis, all good at those. But like I said, if you want factual data like how many bricks is in X building, it's not going to know. But as you said about training, a fine-trained model for whatever tasks that you want it to, and you can train it on your local machine with enough power, should be able to take any task that you need.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for your time today, Harvey. And if you are interested in any more AI facts and news, please do remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.